أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته والمغفرة. Tonight's program, inshallah, will be as follows. We will call upon Muhammad Qaim to come to us to come do the opening recital of Quran for us, and then I will come up to do the fadail of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and Buddha Karim will then do the speech for us, and thereafter Sheikh will do the majlis, and then we will have Buddha Farid to do the matam for us, inshallah. Muhammad Qaim, bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة فيها كتب قيمة وما تفرق الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها أولئك هم الشر البرية إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية جزاهم عند ربي جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنه ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه صدق الله العظيم.
It's a very important night as well as all the other nights. But there's something about tonight that is very special to us, very profound and very spiritual. And that is that tonight is a night of Shahada, to reflect again and to give testimony again. As Imam Hussein alayhi salam said to his companions, and he told them that after tonight, tomorrow will be a battle of bloodshed, and all of his companions, they are going to be martyred on the battlefield of Karbala. He gave them an opportunity to live in the darkness and said to them, there's nothing upon them. There's no sin upon them. There's no shame upon them. They can live because they are outnumbered. Well, none of them left, and they stood by Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and that is for us a deep lesson that we must think about, and that is like, giving your shahada again, your testimony again, and making your iman firm and strong. So, we, as we know, when the soul was in the Sama, so to say, before the soul came down, it came to the earth, to the womb of our mothers, or to the belly of our mothers, and that was a stage. And after that stage, it came into the belly of the earth, this dunya, and this was a stage. And after this stage, it went to the belly of the barzakh, of the qabr, and that itself was a stage. And then we are going to have Yawma Yub'athun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Surah 26 verse 88, Ash-Shu'ara, that itself, it is going to be a stage for us, Yawma Yub'athun, when we are going to be raised up. And that's another level. And then the verse goes on and it says, Yawma la yanfa'u malun wa labanun, the day when neither wealth nor sons will avail. And the verse goes on and say, very importantly here, illa man atallaha biqalbin salim, but only those that brings to Allah a qalbin salim, a sound heart. So they will prosper, they will be successful after the stage of Yawma Yub'athun, after the raising. So how do we obtain this qalbin salim, and who are those people that will have this qalbin salim? Very importantly, now we come in the next surah, Surah Safat, verse 83, and it says, Wa inna min shi'ati wa inna min shi'atihi la Ibrahim idh ja'a rabbahu biqalbin salim. And it says, verily indeed from his Shia, the Shia of Nabi Nuh was Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he came to Allah with a qalbin salim, with a sound heart. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam was a Shia of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, it was also a Shia. What did our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said? He said that, Ya Ali, on the day of reckoning and on the day of Hisab, you and your Shia will be the successful ones. So there is a school of thought in the Quran that has been stemmed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is the school of thought in the Quran that was designated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that was stemmed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a school of Ahlul Bayt, and Shi'ism being the Shia, being the followers of the party of the Ahlul Bayt. Now I ask this question, and I ask, where is this Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah school of thought in the Quran? Where is the Salafi school of thought in the Quran? Where is the Wahhabi and all the other madhaibs? Where in the Quran do they exist? Why is it that our school of thought exists in the Quran, but we must be afraid to say and to be proud to be Ahlul Bayt, or to be followers, or to be Shia of the Ahlul Bayt? Why must we be scared and afraid? Wasn't Imam Hussein alayhi salam a symbol for us? Wasn't his message for us clear as daylight, that if you want to be of the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, if you want to be of our Shia, this is what you must stand for? So what is this knowledge that we must have to be of this qalbin salim? So the Fadail of Imam Hussein alayhi salam teaches us, and it teaches us amazingly, and we can learn from him amazingly, that it says, Ta'alamu ilm wa ta'alamu ma'al ilm as-sakina wal hilm, fa innal ilm khalilul mukmin wal hilm wa zizu. That it says that learn knowledge, and with this knowledge learn sakina, tranquility. Let your heart be tranquil, because verily knowledge, and with this sakina learn hilm, deep insight, because with this knowledge comes sakina, and with the sakina comes hilm, deep insight. Because if you have all of these qualities and this type of knowledge, then verily knowledge, fa innal ilm khalilul mukmin, that knowledge is the friend of a believer, and verily deep insight is his minister, that deep insight is his master. And this is what Ahlul Bayt, in the school of Ahlul Bayt, is teaching us, to be Shia of knowledge and deep insight, and to have that type of knowledge and that sunnah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, number one is to have knowledge and to stand firm and to fight for justice. And when he saw that Islam got hijacked since after his grandfather sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was still very young, and he saw that how Islam got hijacked, and then they killed his father because for standing for the haq and fighting for the true Islam. And then his brother Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and then he stood up and he laid his life down for us so that we can stand here today and we can testify of this beautiful deen of Islam, and we will say Labaika ya Hussein, Labaika ya Hussein, Labaika ya Hussein, Salawat Muhammad ali Muhammad.
Allahumma rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, my brothers and sisters, tonight is the final night of the 10 days that we had about Muharram. Tomorrow is the day of Ashura, which is the most tragic event in the history of Islam. And many things have taken place on this particular night, in that particular year, on that particular day. And tonight I want to bring to your attention a person by the name of Abi Fadl Abbas. Sheikh have touched on him last night, so tonight we will just go a bit deeper into this personality so that we can know who he is and what role he played in Karbala. Now, Abi Fadl Abbas is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, brother of Hassan, Hussein and Bibi Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam. But before we go to Abi Fadl Abbas, I think it is necessary to mention a few qualities and heroic deeds about his father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, because with that knowledge of Ali ibn Abi Talib, we can make a relationship with this personality of Abi Fadl Abbas. Ali ibn Abi Talib has got many qualities and many heroic deeds. If you can just go into the books that is written about his heroic deeds, Ali the Magnificent, then you will come to realize what this personality is all about. So, amongst his qualities, I'm just going to mention two of his qualities and two of his heroic deeds. Amongst his qualities is the fact that he was the successor of our Holy Prophet, so much so that the deen we have today could not come to completion until the announcement of Ali as the wali of our beloved Nabi. So there we already see the importance of this personality. The completion of deen depended on the announcement of him as wali, as successor. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam have received this message a few times before, but every time when he want to announce it, there's always interference that he couldn't do it, so it was a bit delayed. Up till this point, we spoke about it in one of our programs here. When the Prophet ﷺ came from Hajj and gathered at Hadir Kum, and they, to cut the story short, he gathered all his companions together and said, well, there's an important announcement that needs to be made, and this was the announcement about the waliyat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ lifted the hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib to some say there was about 100,000 people, some say 70,000, some say 140,000, whatever the figure is, there was a lot of people because they came from the Hajj, and that was the first Hajj that was performed. So everybody knew about Ali ibn Abi Talib, and The deen of Islam could not be completed until this announcement. Hence, Quran started with our beloved Nabi, and it ended with Ali ibn Abi Talib. It couldn't end until Ali ibn Abi Talib was announced. So it ended with, you see the importance of this personality, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yet we find people that have a problem with this man. Muawiyah, as we know, is one of the main culprits in this situation, where he tried to sideline Ali ibn Abi Talib to the point where he even told his people in Syria that Ali don't perform salah. But they were surprised when they heard Ali was martyred in the mosque. Ali is performing salah, Ali don't perform salah, how come he's in the mosque? And not only in the mosque, he was leading salah in the mosque. So people tried to downgrade Imam Ali, but Quran elevates him. The Prophet elevates him. His deeds and his actions elevates him. Another quality of Ali ibn Abi Talib is about Allah informing our beloved Nabi to tell his companions that they must close the doors that leads into the mosque of the Nabi in Medina. You know, the Nabi has built, when he arrived in Medina, they constructed the mosque, and that was where the Nabi lived. And his companions, all of them, built their mosques around, the houses around the mosque, with their doors opening inside the mosque. And then one day Allah revealed to our beloved Prophet that he must tell the people that they are not allowed to move through the mosque anymore. The doors mustn't open into the mosque anymore. The doors must open the other way. But then a question came up, and it was asked from our beloved Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, what about that house over there? That's the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the Prophet said, no, the door of that house don't need to be changed. Which means that Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, Hassan and Hussein, who were all living in that house, they could walk through the mosque. Now I have to take this a little bit further, and it's, for some people it might become maybe a bit of an issue. We know Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was married to Lady Fatima. They cohabit. They have a relationship. Usually people would wash themselves outside in those days and not inside. So if Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima binti Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, was junub, could they walk through the mosque? Because they had to go through the mosque. Now Allah says, we have cleansed them with a thorough purification. A thorough purification. Now that thorough purification that Allah meted out to Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam means that they are never dirty, never even junub. That does not apply to them. It does not apply to them. Therefore their doors could stay open inside the mosque. It's quality of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and it spills over to his children, Hassan, Hussein, as well as Lady Fatima alayhi salatu wasalam. These are but two qualities of Ali ibn Abi Talib. There are so many, and to speak about that will take the whole night. Let us go to two of his heroic deeds that he performed, out of so many also. We know what role he played in the Battle of Badr, the Battle of Uhud as well. Especially those two battles, very important. But we're going to skip that and we go to the Battle of the Trends, which is also known as the Battle of Khandaq. Now when the Quraysh with their clans, decided to go to Medina and attack the Muslims, Salman al-Farsi made a suggestion to our beloved Prophet that back in Iran, where he is from, where Salman is from, they use a tactic when armies besiege their country, and the tactic that they use is that they dig a deep trench around a certain point, and then they settle themselves in the center of the trench, so that the enemy could not come through or find it difficult to come through. And they adopted that idea, and the trench was dug. It took them a while to dig the trench, and eventually when the enemy came, they were surprised to find that what is this? They couldn't go through. It hindered them from attacking the Muslims. So they besieged the Muslim army for 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks actually, until finally they found a weak spot. And they found this weak spot and decided to go through that spot and attack the Muslim army. So there was 4 horsemen who entered into the ditch, and amongst them was a person by the name of Amr bin Abd Wud. He was a huge person, very big and very strong, and he challenged the Muslims to come forward on a one-on-one battle with him. Nobody wanted to engage with him. People were afraid of this guy, and also he has a history. Now during this time, Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he was a youngster. He was still a youngster. And Ali stepped forward. Now here we have a David and a Goliath story. Ali stepped forward to face this giant of a man. You know, when Ali stepped forward, the Prophet's words was this: "Goeth forth the whole of faith against the whole of infidelity." Infidelity. The whole of faith. This is one person in the world. He was still a youngster. But he, according to our beloved Prophet, he possessed the whole of faith in him. In the camp were prominent Sahabis and big men. They feared to go out. They didn't want to go out. But this little boy, he went out and he killed this person. On the outskirts on the other side of the trench, were Abu Sufyan. He was standing there with Khalid bin Walid. And they were watching the whole scene, expecting that this Goliath was going to strike down this little David. But to their surprise, it worked around the other way. So Ali became the victor of that siege and the battle of Khandak, of the trench. The story goes a bit further, but we're not going into that, how everything unfolded afterwards. So this is the important part of it. And then there's another battle which I also want to mention here, and that is the Battle of Khaybar. You know, the fortress of Khaybar from the Jews. The Jews in Medina, they had a pact with our beloved Prophet because it was the Islamic State, but they pulled back and they did not want to be part of that pact anymore, and the Prophet went out to besiege Khaybar. During this period, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he was at home. He wasn't part of that contingent because he was sick. He had eye problems. He was sick. He couldn't go. And the Muslim army defeated the garrisons that was there before you get to the gates of Khaybar. Those garrisons were there. So the Muslim army defeated those garrisons until they got to Khaybar. And when they got to the gates of Khaybar, now you must know that Khaybar was a fortress. And this fortress was built on almost on a hillside with solid rock, and it had a huge gate, a huge iron gate. It had iron or whatever, but it was a very, very big gate. And the Prophet made the person in charge of the army to go and attack the fortress and break down the gate. The first person he made in charge was Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr went out with his contingent. It wasn't long when he came back. He said, Ya Rasulullah, we can't penetrate. It's too difficult to penetrate. Next person, this is history. The next person was Umar ibn Khattab. Same thing happened. He also came back afterwards. Difficult to penetrate here. Prophet said, tomorrow I shall give the standards. The standard is the flag or the command. I shall give the standard to one who loves Allah and His Prophet, and who is loved by Allah and His Prophet. Companions looked at one another. Who could this be? They had no idea it could be Ali, because Ali wasn't there. He wasn't part of the army. So they were anticipating now, who could this be? Now remember, Allah said, when Allah and His Prophet decrees a matter, you have no say in the matter. So now the Prophet making this statement, Karim is standing there, being part of that contingent. Karim thinking to himself, if the Prophet mentions his name tonight, then definitely it must be like that. I will be the victor. So that was the anticipation amongst the companions, the Sahaba. Who is this person that the Prophet is going to announce now? Anticipating it. It might be me, it might be me, it might be me. But then this Prophet sent message to get Ali. And she said, Ali's sick. Ali's got eyesight problems. Bring Ali. So they went out and they brought Ali. And according to the hadith, the Prophet wet his fingers and rubbed it on Imam Ali's eyes, and he saw eyes healed. And the Prophet gave him the standard, as well as the sword of Dhul-Fiqar. And the Prophet sent him out to go there. Now Ali ibn Abi Talib, he went forward, and the gatekeeper was a person by the name of Harith. But Ali slew him without any difficulty. But then his brother came out, and his brother's name was Marhab. Now this Marhab was another giant, a big guy. And Marhab himself, he was proud of himself. He was proud of his strength. He was proud of his valor. He was proud of his fame. People knew him. And the whole of Haiba and Medina knew Marhab. To the point where Marhab said, I am Marhab. All of Haiba know that I am the greatest warrior in the world. Not in the region. He said in the world. Now, there's a little bit of extravagation here, but let us just say, okay, from the region. Now, even if it's from the region, the Arabs, the Medanites, the Ansar, the Khawz and the Khazraj, they had warriors among them, as well as the Muslims, the Meccans. They had warriors among them, so Marhab could boast that I am the best warrior. Said Ali, when Marhab said that, Ali said to him, I am him whom his mother named Haydar, lion of the wilderness. Now, when people at that time, Ali already had his fame. So when people at that time hear the word Haydar or Ali ibn Abi Talib, there was fear. even one of the monks of the Jews, he warned them, when he heard that name, he warned them, this is going to be a defeat. This is going to be a defeat. That name, we know that name. That name ring out in Makkah and Medina. Nobody could conquer him. This is going to be a defeat, but Marhab had his fame as well. And he had the advantage because he's big. He's strong. And according to the description that they give in history is that Ali wasn't big. Ali was maybe like Butafarit, for example. You know, that stature. But history says that when Ali ibn Abi Talib engaged with Marhab, and another thing, Marhab was clad in iron clothing. He was clad in iron clothing, battle gear. But Ali struck him only once. And according to history, there's two narrations here. It says that Zulfikar struck him through his helmet up till his breast. Another narration said the strike went all the way down, that Marhab's body fell open like that. Now this is Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's necessary to mention these things because knowing what the seed of this man holds. What the seed of this man holds. You know, people would always say that, looking at us maybe, that, ja, het is net soos jou pa, jong, of sy het nog, ja, sy, allemaal wat jou pa, sy doen net die dinge. You see, that is how it is. So Zulfikar struck him. But now there was another hindrance. The next hindrance was this massive gate. They had to either breach the walls or break down the gate. It's impossible, they can't breach the walls because of the... But before Ali could get to the gate, he engaged with another person, and this person struck Ali's arm so that Ali lost his shield, according to the traditions. And Ali, this lion came out in Ali. This lion came out in Ali. And this guy, he fled into the fortress and Ali chased after him, closing the fortress door. This huge door, and Ali broke that door down, man alone, without any help. He didn't only break the door down, he took that huge door and used it as a shield. He ran with that door on his one hand and Zulfikar in his other hand, and he attacked. Khaybar was overthrown. Khaybar was overthrown. History says that afterwards, when the lull was there now, everything was over, 25 people tried to pick up that door. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. But this Ali alone, of medium stature, did that. Where did that strength comes from? This is divine. This is divine. Now the other day, something popped up on my phone, and I read it. It was an article about what do you call this? Ripley's, yeah. Now Ripley's, they don't publish anything which they are not sure of. That's Ripley's. They must be sure this took place, or this is as it is. And Ripley's, they reported this incident about that Muslim warrior in that time who did this exactly about, and they also speak about the 25 persons who tried to lift up the door, the gate, which they couldn't do. So it is a fact, not only from a Muslim point of view, but also from other sources. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. So now we have some background of Ali ibn Abi Talib amongst his so many heroic deeds. Now when Ali alayhi salatu wasalam lost his dear wife Fatima al-Zahra, he was very saddened by that. And it took him a while to come over it. And then a while after Fatima alayhi salatu wasalam's demise, Ali wanted to have another son. But not any son. This is Ali's words. You want a son who must be strong, brave, bold, courageous. He wanted a son like that. And he must also be pious, pious and a God-fearing man with a kind heart. He must have both these qualities. So, after the necessary inquirements, Ali found the woman who gave him such a son. And Sheikh had mentioned last night, she's known as Banin, the mother of sons, because she had 4 sons. The mother of sons, Banin. And from Banin comes Abi Fadl al-Abbas. And this Abi Fadl al-Abbas, he had all those qualities that Ali ibn Abi Talib required from him. But why does Ali want a son with these qualities when you already have Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein? They were also brave. They were also bold. They were also courageous. They were also God-fearing. Why does Ali want another son? What's going on? Is something wrong with Hassan and Hussein? Astaghfirullah. Can never be. Now we have to go to Karbala to understand what's going on. But before we go to Karbala, we have to go to another battle, and that is the Battle of Siffin. In the Battle of Siffin, that's a battle with Imam Ali alayhi salam, and Muawiyah. Right, Sheikh? Muawiyah. In the Battle of Siffin, there was a little boy, a youngster, but he was disguised. He was disguised. And he was 11 years old. So that's not even a teenager yet. He was 11 years old. Now upon entering the battlefield, this little boy, but he was of big stature, this boy entering the battlefield, a brave and famous Syrian fighter named Ibn Shasha. He orders one of his 7 sons, go smite that person entering the battlefield, because Ibn Shasha and all his sons were great warriors. So this was an easy trip. Go smite him. But all 7 sons died under the sword of this boy, until Ibn Shasha also entered the battlefield and he met the same fate. The soldiers stayed in disbelief when they approached this masked warrior and they realized he was none other than Abbas. Abi Fadl al-Abbas, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq is the later generation. He says, I bear witness, O Abbas, that you have reached the zenith of perfection in the matter of self-resignation, loyalty, and obedience. The Imam here refers to Karbala. The Imam refers to Karbala. Now, in relation to what we have just explained about the bravery of Al-Abbas, what do we expect from him in Karbala? That bravery, is what do we expect? The first thing that goes through our mind is that this person, Abi Fadl al-Abbas, now he's a grown man, he's a big man. Abi Fadl al-Abbas is going to be the person who is going to strike fear in the hearts of the enemy in Karbala. So Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam made Abi Fadl al-Abbas the flag bearer, the standard bearer, the commander of his army. Those in the opposite camp, they feared Abi Fadlil Abbas. And those in this camp, they revered him, they respect him, and they depend on him. Now, if Hussein ﷺ would grant Abi Fadlil Abbas permission to enter the battlefield, we know what he would do. Yes, he would be killed eventually, but before that could happen, he would have done great damage to the enemy. But instead of fighting and killing, Abi Fadlil Abbas had a more important responsibility that stands as an example for me and you, and that is loyalty and obedience to Imamat. Ali ibn Abi Talib asked for bravery, boldness, courage, and he also asked for this. So in the Battle of Siffin, Abbas already displayed that. Now in Karbala, he had to display the other side, which the Imam requested from him. And the Imam had vision. The Imam knew why he requested these qualities in this personality, in this person. We know that from the 7th day of Muharram, water was restricted for Al-Hussein and his camp. But they were, at that time, they camped beside the river. So the army, a contingent of the army or a delegation of the army came over and demanded the Imam to break down his tents and move it away from the river to that side. Abi Fadlil Abbas was there, listening to this disrespectful person speaking to the Imam. It's not only the Imam, it's his brother as well. But in this case, Abi Fadlil Abbas does not consider Imam Hussein ﷺ his brother. No, this is my Imam. This is my leader. This is my wali. So Abi Fadlil Abbas moved forward to strike this person, and Imam Hussein stopped him. Imagine Abi Fadlil Abbas, that brave man, his mind is made up. This man is disrespectful to my Imam. I'm going to do what needs to be done to him. So Abi Fadlil Abbas moved forward with that intention. Imam said, Abbas, move the camps. Move the tents. The chains over. Without question. Without question. Abbas became that obedient person. This is my Imam speaking. My emotions I must put one side. When the Imam speaks, I must obey. And Abbas obeyed. He did just that. See? Imam Ali alayhi salam, wisdom. Now, we know for 3 days they were without water. And the little children was crying. They could, and this is in the desert, in the scorching heat of the desert. To be without water, and water is right there in front of you. You can't get access to the water. That water belongs to no one. So why restrict us from the water? Your animals can drink water, but you don't want the son of Rasulullah to drink water. Neither his little children, and there was even a 6-month little baby as well. The baby had to suckle. But it can't suckle because the mother doesn't have any liquids inside her. So there was no milk that, and there was, Sheikh had mentioned about the fate of this little baby already. So we're not going back into that. So for 3 days, your throat is dry. And on the 10th day, on the day of Ashura, it couldn't be taken anymore. This was during the period of the battle when people went out to fight. We have a person by the name of, not going to talk about him, but a person by the name of Hur, who came from the enemy side. He was a commander, and he was the person who besieged Imam Hussein in the first place. But he came over to Hussein and he begged Al-Hussein. He went on his knees to beg Al-Hussein, forgive me, accept me in your camp, which the Imam did. And he was the first martyr that day. Ya Allah, the first martyr recorded in this battle. But anyway, now the Imam gave Abbas permission to go fetch water by the river. Imam could send nobody else. He could not trust, but this is the person who could at least bring us water. We could have that faith, and the children themselves had faith in Abbas. If Abbas goes out, we will get water. So Abbas rode out and he got to the river. When he reached the river, he rode with his horse into the river itself. He never got off from his horse, and he filled the water sack. When he filled the water sack, now he have the water that he must take back to the camp. So he scooped some water into his hand as well to drink, to quench his thirst. But as he brought the water to his mouth, he thought to himself, is this what an obedient follower does? No one has water in that camp. All their throats are dry. I'm standing here in abundance of water, surrounded by water. I have the opportunity to drink, but what am I going to feel like when I put water in my mouth before those little children could get water? So Abbas threw that water down. He said to himself, this is not Abbas. This is not the loyal person that Ali ibn Abi Talib wanted. First they must get water. We know the rest of the story here. Abbas, he drove off to take the water to the camp. Cut a long story short, he was killed. Both his hands were severed. He was killed. He never reached the camp. And the little children didn't know what happened to Abi Fadl al-Abbas. They were still expecting him to come. He never came. So Abbas died. He was martyred without ever bringing that water to the camp and to the little children. The water soaked away into the sand. Here we stand now, 1,400 years later, commemorating the event of Karbala. Now we should ask ourselves, what was the role of Abi Fadl al-Abbas really in relation to this water that he was commanded to fetch, which he could never bring to the children or to the camp? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ali Imran, in verse 168, reckon not those who are slain in the way of Allah as dead. They are alive, sustained by their Lord, or receiving sustenance from their Lord. These are the martyrs. A while back, there was an attempt to flood the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. A trench was dug from the shrine to the river so that part of the river can be diverted towards the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam and flood the shrine. This is well known. And the channel was made in such a way that the water must reach to the shrine. There's no other way. It must reach there. But what happened? When the water went through the channel and it came to the point where it had to enter into the shrine, the water went around the shrine. The water went around. It never touched the shrine. Miraculously. So, we can look at three possibilities here. This is the will of Allah. This is the will of Allah. That's the one possibility which is highly possible. Then there's two probabilities. The other one is that river knows the history of what had taken place in 61 of the Hijrah. That water know that we have given ourselves up. The water itself has given itself up for Abbas to take to the children. It never reached there. So we, the water, reference to the water, this river or this water belongs to Al-Hussein. It belongs to those people. And we, the river, will make sure that it serves the Imam. That is the other probability. Another probability is that, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they plot and they plan, but Allah is the best of planners. They plot and they plan, but Allah is the best of planners. Then there's also the understanding that everything is alive, but we perceive it not. That river is alive. We perceive it not. That river can know what it does, or what it wants to do. Divinely inspired. So we have the other probability of Al-Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam in this scenario. Don't think of those slain in the way of Allah as dead. They are alive, sustained by their Lord, receiving sustenance from their Lord. Which means Abi Fadlil Abbas could still be the guardian of that water, and he could be the one who diverted that water. This is the esoteric part of things. Once we tap into it, then we get the understanding of those things. So Abi Fadlil Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam could still play a pivotal role in Karbala. Today, that water, you restricted our Imam and his companions from the water. Those people who restricted them, they are not there in Karbala. Millions and millions of people are there. Not one of them belongs to that clan. So that water belongs to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Can we have a salawat on that kanal? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm going to end off now. Now Karbala holds a myriad of examples for every person to take lesson from. We just need to apply our minds, and then we can get the lessons from Karbala. So never will there ever be another sacrifice like Karbala. Never. Never. As Muhammad salamun alayhi is the final prophet, Quran the final revelation, Kaaba the final Qibla, Makkah, Al-Mahdi salamun alayhi the final Imam, so is Karbala the final sacrifice. The final sacrifice. Every martyrdom taking place in the world, wherever there is today, is linked to Karbala, even if you don't know Karbala. Is linked to Karbala, because martyrdom, in whichever way it is, for whoever religion it is, martyrdom is always something to do with for the haqq. It's for the haqq. That's why it is martyrdom. So anything that's to do for the haqq is related to Karbala. So there's the roles that Karbala plays, and we can even go further and further and further, inshallah, some other time. So let us tonight say also salam to Al-Husseini, who was killed here in South Africa, Shaheed Abbas Esop. That's one of our brothers that was killed about 2 years ago, Sheikh? 4 years ago. And he was killed inside the mosque because of being Shia. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was killed inside the mosque because of being the leader of the Shia. The first time ever that we have something like that in our own country. One of our leaders being martyred for his belief. And nothing actually came from that. So we need to remember him, especially in our country, because he's our Husseini. He's our Husseini. So we say, Ya Allah, be pleased with him, because he is one of those who attached himself to your deen, to what you have prepared for us, to what you have asked of us, to love the Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, and make him one of those who are successful in the other side. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين ونصلي ونسلم على عبد المصطفى طهر طاهر العلم الظاهر المنصور المؤيد أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك منا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله آخر الأهد منا لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
We are still discussing the aspects, in some of the aspects of the event of Ashura, the event of Karbala, the killing of Imam Hussein Salamullah alayhi. And we've said that this was prophesied already during the time of Nabi Ibrahim, as Butakari mentioned now the other night. The ayah of Quran says, وَفَدَيْنَا فِي ذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ, and we will leave a greater sacrifice for the later generations to come at the river Euphrates. The book of Isaiah we've said also, and it is mentioned in there as well. This is not something new. It is one of the inayats, one of the blessings of Allah, which Allah gave to humanity as a gift. How to be, how to posture your life, your understanding, your consciousness, your thinking, and how it should be that you should only and only believe and have that fearless faith or belief and iman in Allah Azza wa Jal, Jalla Sha'na. Fearless in the sense that you do not fear anything other than Allah, but fear in the sense of you obey Allah, and more importantly, fall in love with Allah Azza wa Jal, Jalla Sha'na, as it is beautifully portrayed and manifested and exhibited by Imam Hussein in Karbala. Ashura represents freedom. Freedom of nafs, where you cut the chains of anything that enslaves you, starting with yourself, nafs, and then it manifests in your day-to-day lives, your dealings with others. That might be, as we can say, the microcosms, and the macrocosms is how it's supposed to exhibit and be, how it's supposed to be in the political scene. And we will speak about that now. We've said that a shaheed or a revolutionary is not someone who is a robber, a thief, and someone who is indulged, who indulge in corruption, cannot be a revolutionary, let alone be a shaheed. You must go through a process of education, first in the process of internal reform, and that is crucial. You cannot have a thief and that thief becomes a shaheed. That's impossible. That's gobbledygook. That cannot happen. It must go through the process of tawbah, the process of tazkiyatun nafs. And when that happens, and that is internal purification, when that happens, you adopt a higher consciousness. Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi was sitting one day and he ate bread that was very hard, that he had to make the bread like this, soft, on his knee. And one of them passed by and they said, Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are Khalifa. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, amongst others, a leader is someone who feels the pain, the suffering of those whom he is leading, whom he is officiating over. You cannot have leaders who indulge in opulence and then you claim that they are leaders. Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal gave us the example of how leaders supposed to be. We will speak about that now. And with that, we might come into trouble, so be it. We are Husseini, come what may. And we will speak about today our situation in South Africa. Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi taught us what we're supposed to believe in. And there are 4 aspects of it. Number 1 is, as he himself says, Ma'alimuddin. He came here to come and teach you the teachings of the deen. Ma'alimuddin. He came here to teach the army of Yazid, to remind them of the teachings. Ma'alimuddin. That's number 1. Number 2 is Anudhir Islam fi biladikum. That you should exhibit to the best of your ability, you should display Islam in your land. Words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, which we words of Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi. We take our cue from who? Quran and Ahl al-Bayt. Anyone else? Sorry, sit one side. We don't listen to you because your source is batil. Source is Quran, number 1. The other source, Ahl al-Bayt salamullah alayhim. And Nudhir Islam. Show that you live Islam. Don't come and capitulate. Don't come and make excuses. Don't come and, oh, I'm afraid. If it is salam alaikum, say it with pride, salam alaikum. To hell with their goodbyes and hellos. Just as an example. We're not against culture. But Islam is what? What is Islam? What is salam? I wish for you peace. That is my prayer. Salam alaikum is a prayer, a dua when you meet. I wish salam for you. I wish peace for you. What's hello? We should get away from this cultural domination of the West, which we will speak about now. Quran is clear. We should be Husseini when it comes to our understandings. Don't allow anyone to come and teach you and play with your mind and give you teachings that you're supposed to accept and we must just be quiet. No. And beautifully, number 3, where Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi, where he says, Ayyu'man al-madhlumin, mean that you should protect and help and support the oppressed, the downtrodden. Kuni lidh-dhalimin, be with regard to oppressors khasman, stern. Don't listen to them. Walil madhlumin aunan, and be in such a way that you are for the oppressed, help them, support them. Words of Ahlul Bayt, whom we follow, whom we believe in, at whatever cost. Our two ones here who are buried here showed us what sacrifice is here in this very land. They left a legacy. It's by time we start living a legacy as well. And number 4, which Imam Hussein says, what ayyu'mal bi fara'idikum, that the 4th pillar, why I'm doing all of this, is what? That you should start doing what you're supposed to do, your responsibilities, your duties. Yes, before there's rights, teach them responsibility and duties. Rights come afterwards. This is what Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayhi teach. And they taught us. That time there were people who were oppressed. People who were fearful of their livelihoods. People who couldn't move from one place to the other unless they are being robbed. Does that rings a bell? People who had to be friendly with authorities. If not, there were serious consequences if you did not. Does that ring a bell? Corruption spread under the rule of Muawiyah and Yazid, and that was made sacrosanct. Imam Hussein could not. So let us look at the situation of South Africa today. Bring Karbala, kulla yawm Ashura, kulla al-ard Karbala. Bring it here in South Africa. A liberation movement have betrayed the principles of the struggle against apartheid. A president who sits above the law, and we should accept it. The legislation or the parliament who continuously show us that they will protect a group. We are followers of principles, not of personalities. If you and I, we bring foreign currency into this country, what's going to happen to us? More than the allowed amount? But all of a sudden, the judiciary was bought as well. If a leader portrays that he is above the law, then that leader does not qualify to be a leader. We speak about this. Let us look at the police, for example. South African police. What are they doing? Highest crime rate. Right, most murders in South Africa. What are they policing? When we look at the army, for example, are we in a state of war? What's the army is doing there in the barracks? They're getting fat. The ethos of defense need to change in order to be in sync with civil defense, with civil services. We cannot speak about Imam Hussein and speak about the Muawiyah, speak about the Umayyads, what they did, and we cannot bring it here. We cannot make it relevant. Okay? Let us look at agriculture. The farm murders that's taking place throughout this country. Why? Why? Threatening the supply chain of food production in this country. And yet you don't hear about it. It's not on mainstream news. Let me speak about education. Oh, my expertise. A child is for 12 years in a school. After matric, no skills. He can only read and write. For 12 years. 12 years! And they still can't do anything. The problem is systemic. There's a problem with the system. Back in the days, you were young already, and you had to go and work, and you had to go learn an ambach, you had to go learn a trade, had to go learn, and afterwards. Why is the system in Sweden and Finland, etc., Germany, these systems are working? When it comes here, no. When we look at, for example, unemployment, which is a huge problem in South Africa. ANC cannot yet solve that problem, but there is billions being stolen. How is it possible that we can accept a situation like this? Must I mention potholes? Must I mention Eskom? They've destroyed it. They've destroyed Prasa. They've destroyed the metro rail system, SAA. Education, roads, water, sanitation, cost of living is unbearable. They usually say South Africa became a banana republic. No, at least they have bananas. We are the republic of Attapulskala, of potato peels. This is what they give. Shacks after almost 30 years, still shacks in this country. And we accept it. No human being supposed to live in a shack. No human being. Why do we accept it? Look at your situation. The corruption. Right, as I mentioned that as well. It's unbearable. It's at a breaking point where we cannot but to voice our concerns. And it's a disgrace for a former liberation struggle who have betrayed the principles of the struggle. Yes, go and vote still for a better life. After it's now 1994 still, 1994 up till now 2023. No, this is not the blood of our people who sacrifice themselves. This can't be. Why do we say this? Because you and I, we love this country. We have a passion for this country. And we want to see social justice that's not implemented, as Amir al-Mu'mineen says. When they spoke about Bani Umayyah, they made the public purse their private wealth. And that's hadith. They've made what? Ma'alullah Dawlan. It became a dynasty. The resources of Allah was privatized in the hands of a few. And this cannot be, brothers and sisters. This cannot be. Imam Hussein taught us to be strong, not to accept the situation how it is. At least be consciously aware here what's happening. And therefore we say, Kulla yawm Ashura. The voice of Imam Hussein, Hal min Nasir yansuruni. Was that message only 1,380 years ago? That call of Imam Hussein is for every year, every day, every minute, every hour, every second. We should help those, be a helper to the oppressed. And let us strive to the best of our ability for social justice. Let us come to Karbala. It is the night which was difficult. On a night like this, Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi, he gave permission to all his companions, and he said to them, those people, they want me, they don't want you, so you are free to go. And their response was, they've left their wives, they've left what are they going to tell their families? What are they going to tell their clans if they hear that each one of them deserted Imam Hussein? None of them ever. Let us look at one shaheed of Karbala, and his name was John. He's buried. He served Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi for many years, and then Imam Hassan. You know, at many times when he used to do the chores at home, then Amir al-Mu'mineen would do some chores, and he is the slave back then. Amir al-Mu'mineen never had that akhlaq, never had that healing, even with his slave John. On the day of Karbala, he asked, and he was crying, that he remembered Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam Hassan and how they treated him, and he promised that he would serve Imam Hussein as well. And Imam Hussein even said, no, you're free, you can go. They want me, they don't want any of you. You are all free to go. And his answer was, during good times you served us, you Ahlul Bayt served us. I felt more free with you, Ahl al-Bayt, than if I should leave you. This is John the slave, black one. On the day of Ashura, he asked Imam Hussein, can he go? So Imam Hussein says, oh no, it's all right. No, you don't need to. No, fine. And he insisted until Imam Hussein eventually gave him permission to go and fight. And then when the enemy encircled and they hit with spears and with swords, Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi was one of the few. Imam Hussein took his body and put it on his lap, and Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi cried himself for John. And we have today the Coptic Christians in Iraq. Imam Hussein is for everybody. Imam Hussein, we've said, is above religion. The Christians go and ziyarat. Hopefully we can show you some of these clips tomorrow. The Christians go and ziyarat Imam Hussein. Hindus as well. Sikhs as well. They also have their processions there in Karbala. And they are proud that one of theirs became a Shaheed of Karbala, and his name is John. Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayhi and Hazrat Sakina was imprisoned in the dungeons of Yazid. And here Hazrat Sakina salamullah alayhi, she was crying, I want to see. And she went to her aunt, Hazrat Zainab, and she asked, can I see my father? I miss my father. And what Hazrat Zainab now had to tell Hazrat Sakina. Sakina was crying, and here of the soldiers heard that Sakina is asking for Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi. And the news was brought, and they sent that news to Yazid. Hey, Sakina's crying. And so Yazid ordered, oh, okay, she wants a father, no problem. We will give her father. He ordered Hazrat Zainab and the children of Imam Hussein to be brought in front of him. And they were at one end almost like a table, and there were a lot of curtains or whatever, cloths, that was over those things that were there on a particular table. So Hazrat Zainab was brought in front of Yazid and Hazrat Sakina, and Yazid ordered that a platter with a covering over be brought to Hazrat Sakina salamullah alayha. And here, as the platter was brought in front, so Yazid pulled the cloth, and here the daughter of Imam Hussein and Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayhi saw the severed head of Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi. You want your father? Here's your father. Then he took a stick, and then he hit the head of Imam Hussein from all sides. At that moment, Hazrat Zainab pulled him, pushed him one side. And then she said, you could rather have hit my face instead of Hussein. This is what happened to Ahl al-Bayt. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifina'ik. عليك منا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعل الله آخر الأهد منا لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين.
يا حسين 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 يا حسين
يا حسين جان الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان
يا حسين جان يا حسين جان
الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان
يا حسين
جان يا حسين جان
الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان يا حسين جان يا حسين جان الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان يا حسين جان يا حسين جان الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان يا حسين جان يا حسين جان الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان يا حسين جان يا حسين جان الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان
يا حسين جان يا حسين جان الشهيد كربلاء يا حسين جان يا حسين جان يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
يا حسين
يا حسين
يا
حسين يا حسين
يا
حسين يا حسين
يا
حسين يا حسين
يا
حسين يا
blessed day is
Ashura.
every land and place is Karbala.
لبيك يا حسين. Every blessed day is Ashura. Every little place is Karbala. لبيك يا حسين.
Samkor was the masjid to the Prophet was thy penalty. Hussein minni wa ana min. Hussein is from me and I from him.
لبيك يا حسين. Every blessed day is Ashura.
Every land and place is
Karbala. لبيك يا حسين.
Every blessed day
is Ashura. Every little place is Karbala. لبيك يا حسين.
to love my king is all that I ask. Prophet surely can I sympathize. Get them hungry and thirsty for days. Hussein's naked body in the sunny light.
لبيك يا حسين.
Every blessed
day is Ashura. Every little place is Karbala. لبيك يا حسين.
Every blessed
day is Ashura. every little place is Karbala. Labbaik ya Hussein.
Amadi Maktub was a while, Ahyan in Muqadr for the space the price was their lives, slain from the fair children and wives.
Labbaik ya Hussein. Every blessed day is Ashura. Every little place is Karbala. Labbaik ya Hussein.
Every blessed
day is Ashura. Every little place is Karbala. Labbaik ya Hussein.
Ya
Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein, ya Hussein. Ay Sakina, orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina, ay Sakina, ay Sakina, orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina.
At the tender of war,
What sufferings you had, the orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina.
at the tender of war, what sufferings you had, the
Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina, ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina, ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina.
Your tent was set alight, your earrings were pulled, your loved ones were killed. Ay Sakina. Your tent was set alight, your earrings were pulled, your loved ones were killed. Ay Sakina.
Ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina, ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina.
Your Tahad and Abbas was killed by Furod, your thirst was never quenched. Ay Sakina. Your Tahad and Abbas was killed by Furod, your thirst was never quenched. Ay Sakina.
Ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina, ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina.
We pray to Allah to give us courage to fight for Islam. Ay Sakina. We pray to Allah to give us courage to fight for Islam. Ay Sakina.
Ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina, ay Sakina, ay Sakina. Orphan of Hussein. Ay Sakina.
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein.
Hussein, Hussein, Hussein,
Hussein,
Hussein.
Hussein, Hussein, Hussein.
Shahid Karbala, Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein.
Mazlum Karbala, Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein.
Harib Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Shahid Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Mazlum Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Harib Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. The savior of humanity. Hussein, 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 Hussein. His sacrifice his family. Hussein, 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 Hussein. His family were butchered. Hussein, 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 Hussein. He was killed in Karbala. Hussein, 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 Hussein. He stood against tyranny. Hussein, 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 Hussein. The savior of Islam, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Shahid Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Mazlum Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Harib Karbala, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Oh, Mashiach, when you drink water, remember me. When you hear of a killing, shed a tear for me. Oh, Mashiach, when you drink water, remember me. When you hear of a killing, shed a tear for me. Hussein, 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 Hussein. Sakinasi was crying, Al-Attas, Al-Attas. The gas is killing us, Al-Attas, Al-Attas. Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas. Sakinasi was crying, Al-Attas, Al-Attas. The gas is killing us, Al-Attas, Al-Attas. Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas. Sakinasi was crying, Al-Attas, Al-Attas. The thirst is killing us, Al-Attas, Al-Attas. Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas. Hussein, 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 Hussein John, Hussein John. Shahidi Karbala, Hussein John, Hussein John. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Hussein, 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 Hussein John, Hussein John. Shahidi Karbala, Hussein John, Hussein John. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya 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 Hussein.
الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم يا الله يا الله يا الله. Allahumma ya Allah, we ask you Allah, we ask you Allah that you bless the Holy Prophet and Ahlul Bayt ya Allah. Oh Allah, we give this majlis, oh Allah, as a gift to the Holy Prophet, oh Allah. Likewise, oh Allah, help our brothers in Palestine, in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, ya Allah. Everywhere where there is oppression, oh Allah, help them, oh Allah, guide them and protect them and show them, oh Allah, how to be Husseini, ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you, those who are sick in hospitals, oh Allah, at home, oh Allah, we ask you for Shifa Kamilan for all of those, oh Allah. Those who have passed on, oh Allah. Allahumma ghfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat. تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك ماحو السيئات. Oh Allah, we ask you Allah to keep for many more years, oh Allah, the leadership of Ayatollah Ali Sistani and Ayatollah, Ya Allah, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, oh Allah, and help our resistance, oh Allah, whether it is in Lebanon and everywhere, oh Allah, the struggle against oppression, oh Allah. Oh Allah, you said in Quran, Kataballah, and Allah declared, لَأَغْلِبَنَّ أَنَا وَرُسُلِي. You said, oh Allah, that you and your messengers and apostles, oh Allah, that they are victorious, oh Allah. Therefore, oh Allah, Allahumma narghabu ilayk fi dawlatin karima tu'izzu biha al-Islam wa ahlah وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من دعاة إلى طاعتك وقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا بشير نذير. السلام عليك يا سراج منير. السلام عليكم يا طهر طاهر العلم ظاهر المنصور المؤيد بالقاسم محمد. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا مولى المتقين. السلام عليك يا وصي رسول رب العالمين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء القرة عين رسول الزهراء البتول. السلام عليكما يا سبتي رحمة إمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك منا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعل الله آخر الأهد منا لزيارتكم. السلام عليك يا علي بن حسين سيد الساجدين ومحمد بن علي باقر العلوم وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري وخلف الحجة قائم آل محمد المهدي. عجل تعالى فرجك وسهل تعالى مخرجك وأظهورك واجعلنا من أنصار ومستشهدين بين يدي. السلام عليكم يا أهل البيت والنبوة ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Shifa